right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
To Your Eternity, Season 1, Episode 9. Hooray for monsters.
Yes,
Okay.
and it's a sweet, wholesome moment because Gugu is just an amazing boy. We love him.
And we'll protect him and...
As this show has already started to condition us with the stuff with March.
It's going to be fine. It's going to be absolutely fine.
Yep.
Nothing bad will happen here at all.
Things are getting too happy, though.
No, there's plenty more ridiculous slice of life stuff that can happen, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Fushi is going to learn to grow up more from
exactly.
Gugu.
You know, and Rean will continue to crush on Fushi, and Gugu will, we see him in the OP grown up breathing fire. Like, it's going to be fine. Or was that the ED? I forget. But point is he's going to be fine for at least a while.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay.
So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. Okay,
all right.
This was a really wholesome episode.
This was
really
awesome.
Sweet stuff.
Yep.
I loved the way we built up to what is very obviously the beginning of the climax of this mini arc or arc because, oh my god, there were so many things that they were like, okay, we're resolving a lot of stuff with Gugu here. We're bringing up Rean's whole stuff with her past and now getting some ironed out details to show that they really are living the lives that each of them wanted.
Right.
They're unable to see the value that they had in that, life, even though we can clearly see that, our boy Gugu here had it the worst. Like, he
absolutely.
had very little good things to hold on to. However, even when that family abandoned them, he still had his brother for a good period of time.
Right.
That was a family that he had.
Yep.
He was free, and thus, probably was close to starving many times.
Sure.
But
he was free to help Rean when he did.
And it was beautiful. I'm really upset that we can't have them talk about the fact that they're saving each other, and he saved her back then, and so okay, all right, now a dramatic, antagonistic force is going to come in here and accelerate things.
And hey, we just had hooray for monsters last episode, so if we have something here where then Gugu is able to use his fire breath potentially. Now granted, he needs an actual flame first in order to make that work, but if he's able to save Fushi, that would be awesome.
But
right?
the scary thing is that March is getting removed. March is getting absorbed.
Yeah.
And oh my god, the terror of having a March tree primordial enemy thing.
Whatever the fuck this is. Yeah.
I do not want this.
No.
Please take it all back.
Will Gugu have the presence of mind to be like, clearly this is a monster and it does need to be stopped, as opposed to,
but I can't actually do anything.
Yeah, like
what is he going to do? What is he actually going to do?
Now, to be fair, we don't know exactly. Well, actually, no, I would say we can almost know for certain that the entity has only stolen March's form from Fushi, because Fushi has to take on the form for it to then steal it.
Right.
So,
and this isn't the same, this isn't the same one necessarily as before. This is a new one.
Is it?
Yeah. I would definitely say, yeah.
Oh, right, because they removed the heart thing or whatever, the core, and destroyed it and stuff. Right. Okay, yeah. Which then, the fact that we're seeing another one and it seems to have the same kind of abilities.
It's the same kind of thing to where it effectively could be the same one, but it didn't. Yeah,
that has potential world-building implications of either there's multiple of that thing, or it was some tendril sent out from some Borg queen, we're super one.
Yeah,
or
we're
something
not aware
like that.
of basically what the central command structure is of this, enemy entity or host of entities. I think the main thing that's just being implied here is that this one is of the same motivation, the same desire, and the same power and abilities, and thus it utilizes trees, the environment of some measure, to then go and try to find a way to take from Fushi what he's gained over this time, which is terrifying because it, one, means that Fushi, you are a walking treasure trove of knowledge and power and abilities and skills and all this stuff that something else wants.
Right.
But on some level, that means that you could potentially lose that.
Yeah.
So you have to protect not just those around you in your vicinity, like Gugu, for instance,
but also yourself.
But also the memories and the stuff, the experience that you've gained.
Now, hey,
that is a part of you.
Yes, it absolutely is. Now, here's maybe crackpot theory probably won't happen, but maybe it could. Use the pears and the takoyaki and stuff like that as like a defense. You stole my memory of a pear. Yes, instead of like a form, right? Like instead of say taking the form of the bear or something like that.
Yeah, maybe that's the thing though. That's the actual like thing, is that it doesn't really care about something that minuscule. It looks for like only the most delightful of instances of past experience and stimulation. Because it might just be like the being was saying, was that the stronger the stimulation, like the more
the stronger the memory is.
Yeah. So March is probably the one that's just currently the most. Well, actually, it might just be so simple as just that he was in March's form.
Yeah. And I gotta say, that was a wonderful decision of Fushi's, of like how he's going to distract
catapult headbutt of little cute child
that is bleeding, right? Like
this poor woman is like, like, I love how realistic at times just the average human, responds to stuff. Like the idea of, oh my God, that she's run away again. Literally does nothing when the girl is screaming, "Help, save me!" And it's like, they've been through this song and dance before, so they could be wrong, and this guy could
actually just be a thug,
thug that's going to ransom her or do horrible things to her, and they're just like, no, we're not going to do anything. It's literally the what's it effect, the standard by. There's a special name for it, but basically that people that see something going on and don't make enough of a kind of a critical thinking decision as to whether or not they should even question what's going on. They just go, "Oh, that's not my business. I won't get involved."
Right. Yeah. You sort of turn a blind eye because it's most likely this thing, Yeah.
Right. And that's mostly not for the thing of you making some kind of incredible logical, rational, thought process with it. It's just you'd rather not get involved.
Right.
There's some kind of name for that, but I forgot.
Well, yeah, it's the kind of thing we're in, like the spy movies or the heist movies or something. Whenever they're like, oh no, the security guard's coming and we're in a place where we shouldn't be. Quick, we need to start making out, right? Because then they'll be uncomfortable enough with what's happening that they won't look too closely as these people are in a place they're not supposed to be, right?
Sure,
maybe they have nefarious intent.
And they might still say that, but then they come too close and then they knock the person out.
Sure, or it's just the, why are you here? Get back where you're supposed to be, people, as opposed to, we have an intruder, Yeah.
But Gugu just gave us so much stuff with his character this episode.
And it was awesome. Yeah. Like, I love the explanation for why they basically had the conversation with him and Rean on both sides of the tree. And you bring up the whole fact that, yes, it's a tree in between the two of them. It's like, wow, okay. Yeah.
It's literally the
we got a giant log that's,
Yeah, and also I find it kind of extra funny because this is another thing that could end up taking them away from each other is, literally a tree that's been animated on some level is potentially about to kill Gugu in the next episode. So this episode felt like it was just all kinds of dramatic foreshadowing.
Yep.
And I loved the way she brought a mask that was clearly what she used to get around without being spotted by people that don't recognize the dress. But then when one of her servants sees her, she's like,
You're wearing the dress.
You're wearing the dress, but also
Yeah.
one of the guys probably contacted everyone, said, she's in this area.
Right. She
Quickly
got away,
look around, you know?
Yeah.
Like, stay near the roads, you know? Like,
Sure. Yep.
Be on the lookout for her.
Well, and also the idea that she might not have thought of that if not for Gugu, right? So that's, you know,
Yeah.
and while I wouldn't say anything near to the extent of that, you know, it makes what happened to him all worth it or anything like that,
Yeah.
but it's an example of something potentially positive happening as a result of this thing that you saw as you have seen your whole life as being just bad, right? Like there's nothing good that can come from this. This is my lot in life. I got dealt a bad hand, and well, shit. Now I just got to deal with this, right?
Yeah, and there's an interesting conversation that can come from the idea of people who are in positions where, from an outsider's perspective, you would go, I think you're being an idiot. I think you are being selfish. The fact that you are not satisfied with life because you have all these other amenities,
a tiny
and
scratch
stuff.
on your arm, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, your problems are nothing compared to mine.
Yep.
Is something that could be looked at in an objective way potentially.
Sure.
But still, the idea that subjectively and on an individual basis,
Right.
no, people see the world differently, and thus, you know, your problems are not something that can be quantified
Right.
to someone else's.
And feelings are valid regardless of kind of like if it's something like what it was that brought about those feelings. Now, how
Sure.
people, you know, interact and, you know, and respond as a result of those feelings and stuff can totally vary and things like that, right?
Because
you know,
that involves another person. And
Yeah.
this is the part that's really interesting here. This show is about connections between people and the way in which
Yeah.
over time the influence that these connections like stimulate between the multiple parties creates little ripples, little consequences, little effects, little, you know, opportunities for new choices. And thus, this whole situation is only happening, Rean, because he saved your life.
yeah.
You would not be alive to have these problems
Right.
if not for the fact that he took it upon himself to do this and had his whole life changed forever because of that. So there's something, one, tragic about it.
Oh, totally.
Two, beautiful about it. And three, just wonderfully coincidentally
Like kind of serendipitous.
serendipitous in that, yeah, you guys actually get to see each other again.
And there was and we were this close to him potentially telling her what happened, right?
And
'Cause he
also
said that's
letting
not
her
it.
see
His face.
yeah.
Like that's one of those things of like it reminds me of like the equivalent of like the romantic confession that's about to happen and then someone interrupts it or something like that.
Yep.
Because that's kind of what was happening here.
Kind
Not
of, yeah.
necessarily from a romance angle, but
Sure.
from the standpoint of the love story of two people connecting, right?
Yeah.
They were about to have that ultimate vulnerable moment, right?
Yeah.
Where Gugu would have been willing to basically bare himself to her in the same way that she did to him, right?
And that was, I believe, her intent, was that she saw that he wasn't willing to be vulnerable with her. So she's like, oh, quid pro quo. First, I'll start by being vulnerable. I'll show mine if you show
Right.
me yours, basically. And that's not fair because she shows and realizes that he's like, oh,
That's
really?
it? Yeah.
That's it?
Right.
And I love how it becomes a comedic thing because he like says some things that are pretty hurtful. And while we don't know exactly like what kind of stuff might have come as a result of the wound itself because of
Her
the
parents-
overprotectiveness
Yeah.
that it seems like they have with her. But what I think she might be subtly implying is that the parents understood that she nearly died at that point.
Okay.
And the scratch is something that doesn't really mean much in
And
terms
that's
of
why they're
physical
so
pain.
overprotective
But then
now.
ever since then, they've been like hovering and smothering her. And she doesn't realize even why they're doing this.
Yeah.
But it's the idea that, oh, you saved my life and thus ruined my chance at having individual freedom.
You didn't
while
save
with
my
their
life,
family.
you ruined my death. Yeah. Like it's something where because also when Gugu gets really hesitant, right? There's the whole thing of, oh, that's nothing, right? Yeah, totally, right? Comparing the physical wounds and stuff, it is nothing by comparison. But looking at the emotional side of things, yeah, her feelings about it are still valid. But also, I could totally see this being something where Gugu, when he sees that originally, there's all the other surrounding stuff of her opening up to him that probably helped with this, but of wondering if she thinks that that little mark is such a big deal, what would she think about my face? Right? Yep.
True.
If she is, basically, she's a kid. If she's vain enough to have that be a world-ending problem,
from his perspective,
right? Then what
even more so will she forget about my face? Right. Now he might think of her as selfish, and thus she's magnifying it because it's her thing.
Right.
But with me, maybe she'll see it a little bit less. I would say he probably thinks a bit more balanced in that regard, where it's not like, oh, he doesn't understand that the scratch is the thing that now that she's told him all this stuff. I don't think he thinks that the scratch is the reason why she's, feeling like she's suffered so much. But because of now telling her story as much as she has, that's something that he's now goes, oh, okay. And thus, there's this weird maybe sense of guilt, and this is an interesting aspect there. Is that he understands now the ways in which he influenced her life,
right?
But if he tells her what she basically did that led to him saving her, which led to his life being ruined in this way, that could also put even more of that type of guilt on her, to where he's like, I care more about you having your situation remedied, that I don't care whether or not I have to get some kind of recompense or any kind of any kind of emotional satisfaction from.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way.
Like making this clear that, hey, you owe me. I saved your life.
Right.
I don't think he thinks that way at all. I think he's gone full the way of no, I can be awesome here and be like, no, I'm gonna try and help you here.
Yeah,
now.
It's all good. Well, one of the other things that I was thinking he was kind of worried about, which again is why his willingness at the end when they're standing in the wind and everything to give her the mask that she gave him and everything, is because there's also that worry of, oh, if this scratch thing is such a big deal to her, if he's able to put connect the dots of, her parents are doing this because she almost died. Yeah. Then if I tell her that basically I was the person who pushed her, yes, I saved her life and all of that, but my actions also did bring about this pain and everything. All of those complicated emotions on top of the idea of, if I did actually show her my face, makes it so that the fact that Gugu was even willing for a little bit for her to see him is huge, right? Because how do you even handle something like that as a kid, right? Handling something like that as an adult, I wouldn't even, be able to fathom it. No. So, I absolutely take my hat off to you, Gugu. I absolutely love you. I don't want you to die. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that he won't, because this was this was a ton of progress emotionally and stuff and relationally that we got here.
I think the best you can hope for, he's not going to die this next episode.
Right, basically, yeah, because originally I was thinking well, wait a minute, maybe the season will be able to go out before he dies or something like that. But then I was like, wait, no, this is too cool.
The whole rest of the season with him and Fushi,
right? And I could,
Rean and
if it was a one core show,
them growing up together.
Oh, that would be adorable and so sweet. But it's a 2-core show. So
and I also feel like on a meta level, the reason why this monstrous thing was introduced is to keep Fushi from ever getting too comfortable.
Sure.
It's a way in which the story can violently adjust him out of his current status quo into a new dynamic, and thus you can have a bunch of arcs that focus on a new setting or environment that Fushi adjusts into, absorbs new things through stimulation, and then gains new memories, skills, abilities, all that jazz. Then, we have a cycle potentially.
Because the first arc with March was kind of a bad luck of the draw with regards to the humans he was in proximity to, right?
Yeah.
And as Fushi develops, it makes sense that he would be able to integrate with humans a bit better, and then hopefully things like that would happen less and less, right?
Right.
Being in towns that do sacrificial offerings doesn't help, but here it's the humans are a lot more easily dealt with.
Yeah.
But something like this, well, that's still a problem.
Yeah, but we now have all the factors of the story of Gugu's and Rean's story, and now even Fushi's starting to encroach in upon them and constrict things. So, very scary situation they're in here. I'm really worried for Gugu, but if Fushi is able to find a way to turn this around, I could see them having to maybe be on the run, and then it's the thing of whether or not the monster trio will go together.
Sure.
Or on some level, if they'll have to split up, or if it'll just be two of them going together, like Gugu and Fushi, and then, Rean has to stay behind, or whatever. We'll see.
I'm just holding out for eventually, even if it's not in this next episode, that Gugu is able to help Fushi a lot because fire is good against wood. So and
I think that's really going to be a thing.
I feel like that would be pretty awesome.
Set up to be literally helpful in this kind of thing.
Because the fact that he got like a thing of alcohol put in his stomach, it's like, okay, fun joke because Booze Man likes booze, but that seems very specific. Like why? Oh well. An enemy made of wood. There you go.
Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, that could be fun. And also then provide a way for Gugu to help directly.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the only other thing this episode that I think is kind of important to bring up is stuff in the beginning of them rampaging around and having a good old jolly adventure and stuff. But the idea that we were using Fushi's form or forms
to keep the people from potentially attacking Gugu.
Right, but also it was very rampant and chaotic, and in a way
out in the open.
Out in the open, and could have put a bit of a notoriety that Fushi doesn't want about him, and I'm not sure if that's going to mean much in the long term, but it could. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, news doesn't have to travel fast in this world.
Yeah, but this is an ancient. Well, not ancient, but it is definitely.
There's no newspapers, so like.
Yeah, it's not that modern. So we'll see about how fast things travel, but word of mouth, and it's a hell of a thing.
And you see a giant bear like that
with bleeding from its eyes and arrows. That's very iconic, specific, and
some crazy shit that will stick in your memory. Yeah, but
so
now,
I could see a situation where a whole bunch of them. Like the humans and stuff, find Fushi fighting this thing, but they don't necessarily
know which one to help or something,
or able to tell that this thing is not human, not Fushi, but the other thing, and they go, "Oh, let's help them take down the big bear!" Yeah.
What I'm most worried of is that because Gugu has been helping Rean get away from the people that are after her from her parents for so long, that at some point. Humans will kill Gugu. Yeah. Specifically, Rean's family's people, because...
And then Fu will notice that.
Well, sure. But, because on the one hand, you're kidnapping our daughter or something like that, or who knows. But if his face is also seen on top of that, we have issues with people trying to kill Gugu just that don't even know him, right? Don't have any reason to other than he looks scary, right?
Yeah.
But if on top of that, you make it something where it's, you're also keeping our daughter from us?
Yeah. And also, the reason why I was saying I don't want Fushi to have to see that, basically, is Fushi in some ways got lucky in that he wasn't developed enough to understand what happened to March.
Sure.
Even though he saw that happen. But he's been slowly, and they did a little bit of this episode, die,
Yeah,
He's getting a little bit more in concept of what the deal is with humanity, and the more and more he goes in that direction, the more and more he'll eventually start to have to make some decisions about what he feels about the value and perspectives on human life and
Yeah.
the idea of taking it
Uh-huh.
versus protecting it or
Yep.
something. And
No complications could come there.
Yeah, and the fact that the entity that sent him, as just an orb to,
Right.
observe and all this stuff, was not sent as some great guardian of humanity necessarily. And if anything, the entity is probably a guardian of
Sure.
the Earth and humanity and all that stuff. But Fushi is not necessarily meant to be some great hero or something.
Right.
So
Defeat these other things, sure, but those are the things that the entity itself introduced into the system. So, it's yeah.
Well, wait. Are we?
Because it was the whole thing of the entity was like, you need to defeat these other creatures or whatever.
Well,
he gave him like a mission statement way back when the tree entity first attacked.
Okay. But do we know that they literally came from the entity though? That doesn't sound like something.
I thought he said that they were. I
think that was just a theory.
Maybe that was just the theory.
I think you've osmosis my theory that they were failed foos basically.
Sure.
And
okay, that might not actually be a thing, but
yeah. Okay, but y'all. Thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yes, if any of that interests you, we'll see it there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.